Hello again. So we got a new topic today, locomotive trains. Maybe about 15 years ago, I had a bunch of these things, and my intention was to make a train setup inside of a coffee table, and I did manage to get the general layout in order, but it didn't work really well. The turns were too tight, and the inclines were too steep for a lot of these locomotives. Only a few of the actual trains would work properly. So I sold that thing off. Well, actually, I just gave it to a friend. And I managed to keep 5 of these locomotives that I'll show off today. So they're all made by the same brand of company called Marklin, Marklan. And these are Z scale, which is 1:220. So 220 times smaller than real life. To give you an idea, since most of my reviews are about 164, there's a 164 scale SUV, and so you can clearly see, this train is quite small. Although in real life, this is actually a pretty big train. So I'm going to go in chronological order of these locomotives, and this is called a 282 Mikado. So it's called a 282 because if you look at the wheels on the locomotive, there's 2 and then 8 drive wheels and then 2 wheels in the back. And it was this design that allowed it to have a really big firebox behind those drive wheels, so it created a lot of power. Well, a lot of power for a steam locomotive. So it's actually of an American origin. A few different companies were building these things, and they made over 14,000 of them. And maybe a third of those were exported. So these trains were quite common all around the world. The first one was built in 1884, and they were commonly, I guess, known to be used in the early 1900s. And I guess it was a more common configuration before locomotives went to diesel power. Alright, so that's what I know about this one. So this next locomotive is an early German design, known as by two names, Class 74 tank locomotive, or the Prussian T12. It was used in several countries throughout Europe, but mostly it was used in Germany, and was known mostly around Berlin. I guess that was the large part of their railway system. So it was very powerful and accelerated really well because it had short distances between the train stations. And then after the electrification of the German railway, these steam-powered locomotives were basically switched over to passenger and normal freight service. I believe it was produced for 20 years between 1902 and 1921, and they were retired and out of service in 1968. And you'll see here it is a 2-6 wheel arrangement, or 260 is, I guess, the formal designation, because it has 2 little wheels up front, and then 6 drive wheels, and then none behind. It was able to go 50 miles per hour. I just think it's pretty cool because it's just a small train compared to the other one we saw. Okay, let me switch over to the next one. I really love this one. This is probably my favorite one, and this is why I kept it. This is called the CE6/8 Crocodile because, if you look at it, it looks kind of like a crocodile. Those little pods up front are what are holding the motors and the drive axles, and then the center section is what contains the conductor, passengers, the crew, the pantographs, which are these metal things up here, and that's where it picks up the electricity, from overhead lines, and then the transformer to drive these wheels. So this is basically an electric, railroad locomotive. It was made by a couple different. Most of these trains were made by different manufacturers. They're spreading out the load of manufacturing. It was built between 1919 and 1921, so only a 3-year run. They rebuilt a few in the 40s as well, and this thing could go 47 miles per hour. So this is the details of this one are just fantastic. Look at these things. These pantographs literally fold up and down. You got those little red cables there that takes the power and sends them inside the cabin. I'm pretty sure all these locomotives, the lights do work when they're running. And I put this on a curve track, to show that all these locomotives do go around turns. And so, yeah, it's just awesome. The detail, again, look at this thing. Okay, so definitely my favorite locomotive, and I'll keep this one forever, I guess. Alright, let's go to the next one. Hold on a sec. And so this locomotive is called a DRG Class 03. It's a German train, or German locomotive, with a 462 wheel configuration. Let's see, there were around 300 of these locomotives made between 1930 and 1937, and this thing was pretty fast. It got up to 80 miles per hour, 81 miles per hour, and let's see, it's supposed to make around 3,600 horsepower. And then the last 10 of these locomotives were actually in service up until the early 70s. So pretty interesting. I mean, this steam guy here. So yeah, again, look at these details. It's quite fascinating. All the little plumbing indications. These little, I think these little wings here may be there to help direct the steam, blowing off or something. I'm not sure, to be honest with you, though. I'm just kind of guessing there. But yeah, it was pretty fun watching these little trains run on the little tracks. I don't actually have a functional track. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, so the last one I have here is kind of lame compared to the other ones, but I still like it. You know, it looks pretty retro. It is called a Railcar 798, or Railbus DB, and this is a diesel-powered locomotive slash rail car. It actually had 57 seats in it, and so the motors were located underneath the floorboard. I believe it had 150 horsepower. I don't know if that was per one engine or one motor or two motors, so I'm not exactly sure there. It could go 56 miles per hour, and they were manufactured between 1953 and 1962, and they were retired out of service in the year 2000. So that's it. I just have these 5. I kept these 5. I might have had like 10 of them back in the day, but they're just really nice. I mean, let's go back to look at the details. I guess the Crocodile is really the best one. I mean, let me stop this thing. So yeah, these wheels, they do function. There's an electric motor inside here, and it's driving some gears, and it actually powers these things, right? So it's pretty cool when it really ran. I wish I still had a functional layout, but I don't have room for such a thing. And so you can see it's articulates, and then the wheels on that articulation can move as well. So it's made of metal and plastic. There's the directional arrow of its operation. Okay, so yeah, just check out those details. Really cool. Okay, so you might wonder, how do I display these things? So let me come back. And so this is my little display diorama I keep these locomotives on. I didn't put them all on there because it looks a little congested, but I was really forced to work within a certain space of the display cabinet that this thing goes into, so that's why it's quite small. I will mention that the buildings out here are all made of laser cut wood. I didn't design them myself. They're just kits that you can buy online. So it's really quite interesting what you can do with a little bit of wood and a laser cutter. I mean, they're extremely realistic looking, I think. I'll zoom in a little later. The tracks themselves are made by Marklin as well, so you have to buy Marklin tracks to run Marklin trains. Again, I think they're the only company that makes Z-scale train sets, so they kind of got you by the cojones there. All the trees and shrubberies are, purchased. They're finished. I didn't make them myself. I just bought them online. And the people were painted by some company called Pricer. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but I'm too lazy to paint little figures like this, so I bought them already finished. And then even these little cars here are photo etched metal pieces, and I did have to paint those things. They come on flat sheets of metal, and yeah, you gotta paint them. Okay, so let me get some closer views in on here. So here's a train station, and look at the shingling on the roof and stuff. It's pretty cool. Here's a little I don't know if there's a model, what kind of car that is, to be honest with you, but it's a old-timey vehicle. There's one apparently flipped over in this garage there, but alright, so let me turn this around. So on this side here, we got a little couple sheds. Right, a little lookout tower. Some construction guys, you know, tending to the railway. A little forest area. Then here we got a railroad crossing where some maintenance workers going on there. Okay, and then you get the back view of the train station there. Right. Okay, so anyways, yeah, there was a time where I used to make a lot of dioramas. The Z-scale and 187 HO railway stuff, so that's why I always mention HO scale cars. I kept a few of those from back in those times, but yeah, I don't really have room for dioramas anymore, so I don't really make them. Maybe I'll make some more just for this little spinning thing, so when I do my reviews of the die-cast cars, I can show them off a little bit better. Okay guys, well, I appreciate you watching, and hopefully, you know, I gave you a little introduction to Z-scale trains, if that should interest you. The brand is called Marklin, M-A-R-K-L-I-N, and on eBay you can buy used ones. That's what I mostly did. I didn't buy any of these things new. They're too expensive new in my opinion, but they're pretty cool when they're used. They're not so expensive, but they still have so much detail that obviously I kept these from 15 years ago. Alright guys, well, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.